First, we're asking if the Clapham corrosive attack proves the asylum system is broken. 0207 862 2222 is the number. The Met Police yesterday named Abdul Izidi as the suspect in an attack on 31-year-old mother and her two daughters that saw 11 people taken to hospital. There he is. They said the woman and her youngest child, aged 3, could have life-changing injuries. This is Superintendent Gabriel Cameron speaking yesterday.
We take violence against women and girls very seriously, and this was someone who, it's a vulnerable position she was in, and it would have been horrific and frightening. So we will do our utmost, and we will, I'm totally confident, capture the male.
OK, we're starting to understand a bit more about the story. Izidi was last spotted in a Tesco in North London on Wednesday night. Now, if you have a look at this picture, it looks as if some of this corrosive substance, I'm not saying acid because it seems to be alkali, has splashed back on his own face, because his right eye there on the left of the picture looks like it's been really, really badly burnt. So he was buying water in the Tesco. This man had been granted asylum in the UK despite 2 failed attempts and then a conviction for a sexual offence. The CPS confirmed he pleaded guilty to 1 charge of sexual assault and 1 of exposure in 2018, for which he was given suspended sentences. He's thought to hail from Afghanistan. He allegedly arrived here in the back of a lorry in 2016. He was trying to stay, and a priest said, look, this man has converted to Christianity. That's according to the Telegraph. It's so desperately bad. Dawn, where do we start here?
This story just horrifies me, Jeremy. If we're asking whether the asylum system is broken, then quite clearly it is. This is just horrible. This man is a convicted sex attacker. He was granted asylum knowing he was a convicted sex attacker. What are we doing to the women and girls of this country? We, women and girls, are going to be the victims. We know most of the people are coming over in the small boats are young men. He came over on a lorry. Not everyone that comes over on the boats or the lorries is like this creature. But we have to know who these people are. We have to sort this system out, because this creature, I don't even want to mention his name, got that little girl out of the car, 3 years old, threw her on the floor, picked her up and threw her back again. He melted this woman's face. Where is this going to stop? Where are we going to start concentrating on the women and children in this country who are the ones that are going to suffer?
Is it, I suppose the counter argument to that, Andy, will be all systems will have a case like this in them. It doesn't mean you have to change the whole system.
I mean, I think it goes without saying that this is a wake-up call, that we need to look at the system and make sure that actually it's robust so this doesn't happen again. I sympathise with everything Dawn just said.
Well, why are they taking the word of a priest to say he's become a Christian?
I would only counter it, if I may, by saying that the reason why the system is under so much pressure at the moment is because there are so many conflicts around the world, and the world is a very dangerous place for a lot of people. I'd be very sad for myself as a gay guy. I'd be very sad if there are, for instance, men coming over from some of these countries who are in fear of their lives, genuine fear of their lives, and finding safety in our country, who are going to be tarred with the same brush as this monster by society. We welcome asylum seekers because they need and deserve asylum. This man did not deserve it, and I agree with that.
And this is where the system is broken. This is where it needs sorting. We need a fair system that sorts out the genuine asylum seekers. I mean, I suspect this woman, we don't know, but I suspect this woman was an asylum seeker herself. We need to protect the real victims from around the world, not scumbags like that. He was a convicted sex attacker. And
the conviction was in this country. So
yes.
Convicted, well, I mean, if you're trying to get asylum, you really wouldn't think you would commit a sex crime during that. Kathy in Lancashire, what do we need to do to stop this happening again?
Morning, Jeremy, again. Well, I want to know who the person was that allowed this scum, to stay in our country. They should be named and shamed.
Well, I'm guessing we might hear from the priest at some point, because obviously he had the wool pulled, assuming it's a he, had the wool pulled over his eyes. And it's not the first time we've had vicars saying, look, this person's had a genuine Christian conversion and they are now a good person. So that needs to stop being a factor, I guess, in any asylum claim.
So we don't have any MPs involved in this. It was on the word of a priest.
Well, I think he had 2 goes at getting asylum, didn't get it. The 3rd time he reapplied and a priest vouched for him. And I don't know what else was involved. But the weird thing is he was given asylum even though he was at that point a sex offender. So I don't think that's supposed to ever happen. I mean, I've never heard. I can't believe that's even allowed.
Well, exactly. I mean,
we need to get the Home Office to tell us whether there's any way in which that is allowed, or whether it's just a mistake.
But Kathy's right. Somebody made this decision. Somebody is culpable for that poor woman having her face burnt off, and that little girl suffering life-changing injuries.
And I spoke to a victim yesterday of another acid attack, who said it's not just, you have your face burnt off, but you live with pain for the rest of your life, and the pain is 24/7. You never sleep again. It's torture for the rest of your life. Thank you, Kathy. It's just the most miserable story. I want to hear what you think. 0207 862 2222. Just say whatever you think. We want to hear it. Alan in Gwent. Hi, Alan.
Hi, good morning, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm fine. I suppose the extreme end of this would be to say we need to stop all asylum claims until we find out what the hell is going on.
Yeah, we should have a Home Office that's fit for purpose. We should have a police force front of line fit for purpose. As soon as, if he's been turned down twice, and then a sexual offence against him, and then allowed on the say-so of a priest, it is disgusting.
Sure,
really,
but the police, we're saying the police need to stop it. If this is a situation that's happened inside a family unit, even if he's been booted out the house, it's very hard for the police to stop this before it happens. So, they'll catch him, I'm sure, in the next 24 hours. But I don't know where you want to sort the Home Office out, do you?
Well, you need to be accountable. You elect your MPs. You got the Home Office. There should be a place where you can actually find out what they're doing, throughout the 1 year. With asylum seekers coming in on a point system, illegal ones, they should be sent back to France. It's simple as, because that's the first point of origin, and it is going to get worse in this country. It is going to get worse.
Well, this case may be. We may find. Well, I thought the election was going to be about the post office. I think it may be about this case the way we're going, because people feel so angry about it.
Well, as long as something gets done, if we change something in this, then some good has to come out of this, because this is not the first incident. Was it Liverpool maternity hospital bomber? He did. I think. He died, but it was the same thing. He had a priest vouch for him. He was an asylum seeker.
Drove a car up to the hospital,
that he'd converted to Christianity and then tried to go and blow a maternity hospital up. See where I'm going?
Yeah.
Women and children, again.
Linda in Berkshire, hi.
Hi, good morning.
There's such anger. I've rarely remembered this much anger about a single crime, Linda. What do you think?
Yeah, it's abhorrent. It really is an awful crime. There's no way of looking at it without looking at how awful it is. But I think there's a political narrative that's being pushed here about linking asylum seekers with these sort of horrific crimes, and they're coming in, they're attacking us, they're doing this. The people within this country as well who commit just as horrendous crimes, and I think it's really dangerous to sort of link this to immigration.
I don't know, because no one linked it until it was linked, right?
It is linked, Linda. He was a convicted sex attacker who was granted asylum. I'm not saying all asylum seekers are bad. I'm not saying, but he was a convicted sex attacker who was granted asylum after that. Surely, as a woman, you cannot agree with that.
But the courts have granted him asylum for a reason. He is also a human being. I think that there's a wider argument here. There's a wider picture of looking at why do people commit these crimes, whether they're asylum seekers or not. Why are people attacking women in this way?
Well, Andy's not. Why are you nodding at that, Andy? We need to understand that.
I think we need. Linda's absolutely right. I think we need to see this in the context, though, of a society that is being encouraged to be more and more hostile towards asylum seekers and people from abroad in general, as though they are the enemy. There are acid attacks carried out by people that have been very well covered in the news, by people who have been, second, third, fourth generation in this country. And please, let's put a pause on asylum seekers. Let's stop helping people who genuinely need it because of this one monster.
Well,
I don't know whether it's possible, and I'm treading very carefully when I say this, whether there are some cultures where acid attacks on women by the male partner are a prevalent way of getting revenge. And I think that India, for example, has had a lot of them. Now, I don't know whether you factor that in when somebody, perfectly innocent guy comes from Afghanistan. You say, well, I'm sorry because you have got this, your society does have this. That gets quite...
You can't say that. And Linda's right. You can't tar all asylum seekers with this brush. But the point of this story was he was an asylum seeker who was granted that asylum despite being a convicted sex attacker.
All right, Linda, thank you. More on this after the break. A number of issues here. I mean, actually so many, because you could start talking about whether we banned the sale of acid in DIY shops and all that. And then chiefly with this guy, whether he should have been anywhere near this country. Martin in Flintshire, hello.
Hello, mate.
What do you make of this dreadful thing?
I think it's preposterous. I agree with the lady that's on your show. Can't remember her name at the moment.
Dawn Neesom, the legend.
Dawn, absolutely. And this is a preposterous situation. The guy has been refused asylum, and then he committed a sexual assault, and then he was given asylum. What on earth? It's a travesty. It's ridiculous.
I don't know. I mean, I'd love to find out from the Home Office whether, on paper, that can ever be allowed. But it seems like the intervention of this priest may have been vital, because the priest said, look, he's changed his ways.
Yeah, but Christianity is responsible for more wars than you can shake a stick at. It's ridiculous.
Well, I don't know about... I think it's more to do with the fact that if you're a priest, you've got a vested interest in believing you've converted somebody. So you want to believe he's changed, so you're going to tell everyone. I don't know. I mean, this poor priest will have to come forwards and tell us what happened. But what do we do, Martin? Because we don't know how many more of these attacks are queued up and waiting to happen.
Well, no, Jeremy, I do agree that we, as a nation, I mean, there are stupid people, that are English, whatever, born and bred, and they still commit these acts of insanity. Well, having said that, he's been refused access. He's been refused twice. He commits a sexual offence and then gets given the green card. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's a mockery.
Do you think, thank you, Martin, we come back to the situation about Afghanistan. We did, they were taken over by the Taliban. The Taliban hosted Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda did 9/11. Britain and America particularly went in, lost a lot of soldiers trying to do some mission in there, which we never really understood what it was. And the end result of that is a lot of people from Afghanistan come and decide to live here. I mean, is that something that... It doesn't feel right?
We have a responsibility. We do have a responsibility going back through our colonialist history. Actually, we have a responsibility more recently as well to offer people sanctuary, and that. So,
if we've caused instability, there's part of the argument for this guy being here is that by going into Afghanistan with our soldiers, we made the thing worse.
Part of the reason for anyone to be here who needs asylum, right up to the point they carry out a horrific attack. The attacks before this current attack were bad enough. I understand, actually, that the rule is that generally you need to have served a prison sentence of 12 months plus to automatically be sent home.
Oh, that's very useful. So he wasn't in that category. Okay.
That's not strictly true. Sorry to contradict you. It's the UK Borders Act 2007 allows the automatic deportation of a foreign criminal. So it's just someone who is convicted. They don't necessarily have to...
Secretary of State is involved with that. It's quite complex.
It's quite complicated, the ruling, but basically he could have been deported.
And also sexual crimes, if it's shoplifting or something, that's different. Maybe you might say the guy was hungry. When it's a sexual crime, you're thinking this guy's going to reoffend without a shadow of a doubt. No one maybe thought it was going to be like this. Barbara's in London. Hi, Barbara. What a concerning day this is.
It is very concerning. I think the problem is the bar for granting asylum is far too low. Apparently we accept 75% of asylum claims, whereas the rest of Europe it's about 25 to 30%. So something's going wrong. We're just being too soft with it. And I think when they are turned down for asylum, then there's a host of people ready there waiting to give them ways of getting around the system. Obviously the left-wing lawyers, even Care for Calais, which is a refugee agency, but I've heard in good faith that they are making an influence as well.
I think part of what's going to happen is the government is under massive pressure to clear the backlog, and the way you clear it is by working. The quick way of clearing it is by saying yes to everyone, right? That's so
Absolutely.
That's going to be the direction of travel for this, which in the light of yesterday is concerning. Thank you, Barbara. Kerry on Facebook says one immigrant has been in the news, so we now have the reaction that all are bad. It's not fair. I hope we're not saying that at all. Yvonne on Facebook, this has been created by the Conservative Party. Blame sits with them alone. They created broken Britain. Bianca's on the line now. Hi.
Hiya, good morning.
What do you think?
I think this is crazy. I think Barbara was right. I think, look at Australia, look at America, how hard it is to get into those countries. We are a little small island. We're letting these people in. We don't know their past. Their past are not being looked at properly because the government are so busy that they haven't got time. Like you say, they just basically say yes because it's easier. And I was saying, like, why don't we have like a jury like you do in a court? Why don't the British people, why don't we have a jury of, say, 10 people that are volunteering like every couple of weeks? And I think anyone I know would be happy to sign up for it that maybe gets the time to actually look into
Well, I don't know, because you might find they just say no to everyone. But then maybe that's...
What would the jury ask? Are you planning to carry out an alkaline attack on, I mean, I don't know how you're going to question them in a way to find out. I have to say, Bianca, I personally feel proud, and to Barbara as well, I feel proud that I live in a country that accepts a lot of people who are requesting asylum, because the vast overwhelming majority of them are good people who need to be safe, and that's something I think we should be proud of. It seems to me a sadness in society that we've kind of almost been convinced into seeing that as something to be ashamed of.
I don't think that. I think that they come here, that's why we've got people coming here, suicide bombing, blowing up like children in schools and stuff like that, because we're just letting them in. And half of them, I bet they don't even need asylum. If they've done any sort of crimes where they come from, send them back.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I should say that I think if we look at the recent, the Manchester Arena bombing, I can't remember that guy's, what was his name? Salman Abedi, was it? I have a feeling he was a British guy. I'm treading carefully, I'm not sure. I think it's difficult to start saying these people who come in on the boats, for example, are responsible for the worst crimes. That's not a connection I can make. I think it's the fact that it's disorderly. Andy, we don't get a proper sight of what's going on.
I think with illegal immigration, with asylum, they're often conflated. They shouldn't be. But I think we have there the sharp end or the rough end of a problem societally that we're still trying to make sense of, which is that we have different cultures living cheek by jowl that don't necessarily share the same views, the same outlooks, the same tenets, the same principles, and that's causing a great deal of tension.
Yeah.
So when you have something horrific like this happen, it feeds on that dry powder, if I can put it that way.
So just because the most notorious recent suicide bombing was the Manchester bombing, and it was Salman Abedi, who I mentioned, and he was a British Muslim, so he wasn't somebody who come in as an asylum seeker. Thank you, Bianca. Alev is in London. Alev, what the hell do we do?
Hi, I've been following this case really carefully because this has affected me personally. So, I am Muslim. I was born in this country. My parents immigrated to this country. My parents met in this country and got married.
Yep.
There was, how can I explain it? Culturally, I get this. This has got a lot to do with culture. This has got a lot to do with asylum. However, what everybody's missing is this has got to do with domestic violence as well, and the situation of what people are in this country. For example, the police said 2 years ago they convicted this man for a sex offence. Then they said this woman was known to be vulnerable. Yes?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So my question is this. Why were the children still put in this situation if the police knew there was a link?
Well, hang on. He travelled all the way from Newcastle to Clapham.
It doesn't matter.
To attack them.
It doesn't matter. Listen, I'm Turkish, yeah? It doesn't matter where you move. If the perpetrator's going to do it, he's going to do it.
All right. Alev, we've got to move on just because we've got to go to our break. Thank you for your calls.
Okay.
We'll move on.
Fine.
You take care, Alev. Thank you. Call again. Okay, it's just our break, all right?